Victor, 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 Victor.
I got the spur on the fitted anytime you see me out in public. They love this, so they be like, game time. You know we going live from the AT&T Center. Hear me in the crowd. I run the
Welcome to Three the Hard Way Sports Podcast. From three guys who talked sports together over lunch for over 10 years. Probably eating a Fudgy the Whale in that time.
They won't forget you. They're gonna get you.
Welcome, everybody, to Three the Hard Way Sports Podcast. I'm Bryan Galloway here, drinking my cream soda here with, from Parts Unknown, Michael Pippersick. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing great. And as the poet Calvin Brodus once said, I'm just living between the sky and the earth. You know
There
who
you go.
Calvin Brodus is? You know who that poet is? Calvin Brodus?
I only know
Better
about
known
it, I
as
don't know
Snoop
poetry.
Dogg. Snoop Dogg.
There you go. And then we have from Rumson, New Jersey, we have Alex Shanley. How are you, Alex?
I'm good. I don't have any intellectual quotes like Mike, but I was thinking of what was the wrestler Brodus?
Brutus the Barber.
Brutus Beefcake?
No, there was a Brodus something.
Brodus.
I'll look him up. Yeah,
No.
I think he's like a
Bruno Sammartino?
no.
No, okay.
No, he was way after
Rafa.
those guys.
Way after those guys.
Yeah,
That's when
Brodus
wrestling
Clay. Brodus
Kid and Play?
Brodus Clay.
Brodus
he was a
Clay.
professional
That is
wrestler.
after our time. Brian
Ken
and I.
Clay, the pitcher? No.
I think he's now like a political analyst or something. Brodus Clay.
Oh, no, Tyrus.
Yeah.
Oh, Tyrus. Yeah.
Oh,
he was-
yeah.
He was
He's
Brodus
awful.
Clay.
He'll
Oh.
kill us. But
Yeah.
My wife watches that show all the time with him on it.
He's on. She watches Gutfeld.
Yeah, she loves it.
That show's terrible. It's so bad, it's funny.
Yeah, I think that's probably why she watches it.
Oh, it is funny. Oh, my.
At least you know what it is, Mike. See, look at that.
I do.
Well, if there's a professional wrestler on it, I mean, it's got to bring a certain level of intellect to it,
Yes,
right?
he's actually a pretty smart dude. Okay,
He's smarter than Gutfeld.
so there's been a lot of crazy things going on in sports right now, but I think based on what happened and the news of the day, let's start off with the injury to Victor Venbanyama. What do you guys thinking? Now, again, we can talk about his cheating in the All-Star game, but I feel bad now because I was all set to talk about.
Maybe he couldn't shoot, Brian. Maybe that's why.
No, because look how good he played in the
Maybe
game.
he wasn't cheating. Maybe he was just trying to shoot a shot,
He
but his
played good
arm
in the
hurt
game.
too
No,
much.
he cheated. But that's another whole thing. So we can talk about that at another. We'll talk about that later in the podcast. Let's talk about his injury first. Now, I feel sad for the guy. So do you guys know the details? I've done some research. I don't know if you guys have, but do you understanding of the injury and what it is and the
No,
history?
why don't you give us a rundown of
Yeah,
that,
doctor.
So
Dr. Galloway?
yeah, hey, I was pre-med for a year, and I've actually stayed at a Holiday Inn Express too, so I am pretty smart.
There you go.
Watch a lot of Marcus Welby MD.
Yeah, Marcus Welby. I do. I know. I don't like that. I do like Quincy though. But okay. As far as that deep vein thrombosis, it has a lot to do with blood clots. So you basically have a blood clot in whatever part of your body where that is, and actually it inhibits the blood flow. Which, in the case of Victor, he basically had a sore shoulder, and it was bothering him for a while. But I was coming back. Sometimes it was there, sometimes it wasn't. It kept on reoccurring, and they tried to figure out what it was, and they couldn't get to it. And there was supposedly one person in their medical staff that said, you know what, I have a feeling this might be something different. Let's check some tests. And since you're off a day from the All-Star game, let's get some tests done and we'll find out. So then they found out this diagnosis that they probably did not want to hear. And it's a very interesting. So there's a history of deep vein thrombosis in the NBA. There's some notable people. One of the Thompson twins, like Azure Thompson, had it but he didn't have it that bad, and they think they caught it early enough where they were able to fix it. But there's different types.
Like the band Thompson Twins?
No, like
Oh, they're good. I was just listening to them
Thompson
today.
Twins. Yeah, was it come? Wait, how's that go?
Hold me now.
What's their big song?
Hold me now.
Hold me now. Doo-doo-doo. Oh yeah,
They had
no,
a
not
couple
them.
songs, yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
there we go.
listened
Not
to
the
that song
Thompson
about a
Twins.
half hour ago. That's so funny.
Yeah. So not them. And then so here we go. So but there's two different types. There's a structural one, and now Brandon Ingram, who is definitely a good, very good player. We talked about him recently. He had it. Now he had the structural one. The structural one is when there's a blockage that can be operated on and cleared. Right? There's a blockage. It could be cleared, and so structural. They were able to find it. They were able to clear it. And with some blood thinners and stuff like that, he was after a while he was on the blood thinners for a short amount of time. Then he worked it out and he was fine. And he's back and he was able to come back and play. And I think right after he got this, he had one of his best years. So he that type is probably the better of the two options. The other option is if you have one like Chris Bosh. We all know Chris Bosh, one of the greatest players. Terrific player. It's more when you have the blockage due to your blood disorder, and the blood disorder causes the blockage. So the other way, if there's a structural thing, you could actually open it up. It's like a structure on a dam. You could open up the dam and fix it. But if it's the water in the dam that's causing the problem, that is the issue. If the water's, obviously the water's too thick or the water's polluted. So in this case here, Chris Bosh had a blood disorder, and I was reading about this how, they thought he had something, but then somebody hit him in the hip really hard during the game, and then they went on the plane, and they were in a high altitude, and all of a sudden he just got this like shooting pain in his hip, and the whole team was like shot. They didn't know what was going on, and he was like ungodly amounts of pain in his hip from this, and he had a blockage in his hip and everything. So I didn't even know it was ever that bad. I don't know if they talked about it much at the time. But that's the worst one. That's the one that's hardest to come back from, and basically he never was able to come back. They gave him blood thinners. He worked out. He seemed to be fairly healthy, but he couldn't take the stress of the game and the that activity. And they said, hey, listen, the doctor said if you wanted to continue your life, you should stop your career right now and just let your body heal naturally because you're not going to be able to play basketball again. And that's eventually what he had to do. But it took him a long time because he didn't believe his doctors at first. And then eventually he did. So that's the two things. Now, could it be hereditary? Some people say it could be based on trauma. Could be a combination of both.
But
Most
do we
of
know
the times,
which one he has, Bryan, or no?
No, they don't know yet. They're going to find that out. Hopefully they'll know today or tomorrow. They're supposed to. They didn't know as of today. And actually, I heard a doctor talking about it at about 6:00. So it wasn't, and they haven't found out yet. But it looks like a majority of it is hereditary, which means a lot of times it can be corrected or not. I think that Bosch's was made worse by the injury, but they don't know that. Again, it doesn't happen. This is not a very common thing, guys. It's happened like 4 or 5 times ever in the history of the NBA. So it's not like it happens all the time. So that's the one thing. They have to find out what type he has, and then they can know the prognosis. He's young. If it's a type like Brandon Ingram, hey, they'll clear it and they'll go on, right? He'll go on. He'll be fine. But he's not going to play this year. He's not going to play till next year. But if he's got the time like the one like Chris Bosh, now he is a lot younger than Chris Bosh. So there, the prognosis of him coming back is probably a lot better. But it's if you're the owner of the San Antonio Spurs right now, you're holding your breath because it could be really bad. And from what I hear, he's been a really class guy. I don't know. He did cheat in the All-Star game, so I don't. That kind of like hurt me there. But from what I hear, besides that, he's a pretty good guy. Everybody likes him a lot, and he seems to be a decent man. So I feel bad. I feel really bad for him because it could be bad. This is not an easy thing. And the thing is that he played the All-Star game and he played pretty good. He actually could have. If his team had won, he might have won the MVP. Yeah. He was really good.
Kyrie made him look silly.
Yeah, though that is true. But so anyway,
can make
that's my breakdown. And again, I did do some research, so I probably but I listened to a doctor talk about it, and it was very interesting to me because I never knew that Bosch's was so bad that like on the plane flight, his entire team thought that he was going to die. They didn't. It was like
Ooh.
that much. He was in that much pain, screaming out during that flight. No one ever disclosed all these things.
Hmm.
Very interesting. And then so yeah, so one of the Thompson twins, like not the ones who sing "Hold Me Now," not those. Um, not Amen, the other one, Azure, or whatever his name is,
Hmm.
like the cloud technology. That guy had one, not to the extent of Brandon Ingram, but he did have one, and they caught it very quickly and they fixed it. So he's already gone through that. What I can say, if you do have the structural and you do fix it, the chances of it coming back are not very high. So, as long as you maintain it and watch it, because they know what to look for. So I really think if Victor has that, I think he's going to be okay. I think he'll come back and be, still be a great player and do that. If he has the Bosch type, your guess is as good as mine. Again, like I say, I was a 1 year pre-med student, and I did stay at the Holiday Inn Express, so that's all I know. But
Well, it's a tough year for San Antonio. The coach goes down, their best player goes down, really the franchise player. But
they put a lot into it. Now, so what do you guys think? And I don't know who wants to go first. What do you think is going to happen with their draft status now?
they're trying to get Cooper Flag, is what they're trying to do, just like the old David Robinson, Tim Duncan deal.
Generational talents, right? It's what the Spurs
Yeah,
do. They somehow find a
those big
way.
men always end up there. But let's talk about Wembayama's body type, right? Like, who's the best player in the NBA all time that had that sort of body type?
Manute Bol?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
No,
Yeah,
Jabbar was strong. Jabbar was
and
like,
Kareem was big. He had
yeah,
a big butt.
Jabbar was strong.
Yeah, but like Sean Bradley,
Yo,
Yeah, didn't work out.
Chet Holmgren. Hopefully, he's going to be good, but he's been hurt on and
Had a
off, right?
couple injuries. He's terrific when he plays, though. But
Yeah,
yeah, definitely have to add mass. I mean, it's such a physical game, and Wenbanyama's had a great year. I mean, he was the front runner for the Defensive Player of the Year, which now he's not eligible because he only played in 46 games. But he's obviously stronger than he was last year. But yeah, that body type is, I don't know if that kind of plays into it because Chris Bosh was kind of a thin guy as well, and
yeah, but
Brandon
Flash
Ingram.
was thin, but he wasn't that thin.
Yeah, he was kind of strong, but Brandon Ingram's a very thin guy as
Yeah,
well.
very thin guy.
yeah.
Yeah, so I
Hmm.
wonder if it's like that body type perhaps as
Well,
well.
like so Manute Bol, I remember I heard stories like Chris Mullin and him were really close friends. Like, I think his family took him in for a while, but they used to try to, give him like 20 milkshakes to try to gain weight, and he still wouldn't gain weight. Like he'd come home, he'd drink like 20 milkshakes from McDonald's and stuff, and he wouldn't gain a pound.
Yeah.
And like it was just crazy because he was like 7'8", weighed 170 at that one time, and then he gained a little bit of weight, but near the end of his career he was a little bit stronger, but he never was. He was always just a bone. And
People,
you look at Bol, he's looks
Maybe
the
all
same.
those milkshakes did him in the end, Brian.
Yeah.
cholesterol, right?
No,
Do you
Hey,
guys
just
remember?
to clear the
he got something overseas, right?
just to
Um,
clear the record, Thompson twins, Hold Me Now, Lay Your Hands on
Yep.
Me, Doctor Doctor, and
Yeah.
King for a Day. So they weren't just a one hit wonder.
no, they weren't one hit.
No, they were good. They were good.
I don't know
Not
if I go
twins,
for
not
it's
actual
good,
twins,
but
though.
For that era where there was a lot of one hit wonders, they were pretty decent.
yeah.
Learning a little bit
80s.
more about Brian's more expansive music taste than we thought, Alex.
I know.
It's much more than the Booyah
Yeah, it's
Tribe.
from my days going to the Limelight, New York, and dancing
Do-
with Mohawk women.
Hey, do you guys remember Chuck Nevitt?
Chuck Nevitt, yes.
Yeah.
Remember, he was a very thin guy. He was riding the bench for those Laker teams. I think he was around 7'5", very thin guy. And I remember reading an article about him years ago because he was this novelty in the NBA because he was just so tall, so he was always on a roster. He actually used to work out with Lee Haney to try to add mass, famous bodybuilder from the 80s.
Yeah.
And Chuck Nevitt actually took steroids in an effort to gain weight and could not gain weight even from steroids, which is bizarre.
Just metabolism, I guess, right? Or something.
Yes, yeah. I remember in the 80s, like if you took steroids, you blew up. Everyone looked like Barry Bonds. And this guy was taking steroids, assuming someone actually gave him steroids.
Wait, Barry Bonds took steroids?
Yeah, you know?
But hey, and you know something, Alex,
Allegedly.
you missed one of the Thompson Twins' best songs, "Lies, Lies, Lies."
Yeah.
Lies,
Yeah.
lies, lies, lies. Yeah, that's a great song. So yeah, Thompson Twins, man, they had about 4 or 5 decent hits. Okay, they were from Sheffield, England. I'm looking. We're learning, guys. We are learning more. This podcast is branching out from sports into extreme
Well,
music.
it goes to show you how slow the sports are right now.
Yeah, there we
The
go.
NBA All-Star
Brian,
games.
Brian threw me off when he said we're going to talk about the biggest story of the day. I thought you were going to be talking about Bobby Portis's 25-game
Well,
suspension.
let's
Yeah.
talk about that too. So Victor, I have to say, Victor, when as I know we know you listen to our podcast, so Victor, we do wish you the best, and even though you did cheat and in the All-Star game, which is pathetic if you ask me, but we really feel I wish
Well,
never
was there
wish
a
this on
rule
anybody.
against what they did?
What?
The loophole.
Was there a rule against what they did?
Um,
I mean, they shot. They were just bad shots.
The unknown rule of competition.
Oh, okay. So, like, they should
The
play
unwritten rule of
defense in the
competition.
games?
Follow the rules.
They should play defense in the games? They still didn't play defense in the All-Star game.
This was the
we'll get to that.
skills
It
challenge.
is
Okay,
so bad.
let's talk about Bobby Portis, Mike. Why don't you give us some Bobby
Yeah,
Portis?
so Bobby Portis, who's had a really good season for the Bucks, averaging nearly 14 points and 8 rebounds a game. So he's one of the better players coming off the bench. He's finished top 3 in the last 2 seasons. Another contender for 6th man of the year this year as well. So he got suspended for 25 games for violating the league's anti-drug policy. So he tested positive for a drug called tramadol, which is used to treat severe pain. And what happened is that he accidentally took a pain medication called Toradol. So there are 2 medicines that are for pain that have very similar names. So apparently his assistant gave him this pill, a painkiller, and said, "Here you go. Here's your Toradol." The guy accidentally gave him tramadol, and he failed the drug test.
So see, that's the whole thing is accidentally. How do you accidentally do that? And second of all, that means you have it.
He had both, yeah. So the guy had both pills. Gave him the
Right.
wrong
So you did
one.
have it in his possession.
Yeah, which I don't know the details of that, but
And what are they? They look the same shape and color.
I don't know. But they have very similar names.
Like if my wife gives me a pill and I'm like, wait a second, what is this pill? And like, hey, I don't ever take a green pill. What is this? Like I would never. I'm not going to put it in my mouth and. And this was his assistant who's supposed to watch out for him. I think I call bull on that one.
Yeah. Well, he's not appealing the suspension, which was kind of like, that's interesting because the story sounds plausible from the perspective of the names. But like you said, Brian, he had the banned substance in his possession as well. So I don't know. A very strange story, devastating for the Bucks right there. Right now, they're the 5 seed, playing pretty well at 29-24.
How many games was it?
25 games. So he's going to come back with 4 games left in the regular season. So he'll be back for the playoff run, which, look, it could work out in a way, right? Because he's going to come back fresh while all these other guys are playing.
He plays well in the playoffs every year, too.
He does. He's been pretty good for them. So I'm curious to see how this pans out for the Bucks. And they recently traded Chris Middleton as well. So who'd they get for that? Kyle Kuzma? Is that the guy they got back?
Yeah, I think that might end up to be a better trade for them.
Yeah, but when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's a tough loss for the Bucks. I've never been a huge fan of Bobby Portis, but he's been playing really well from the last couple.
No, I don't. I'm not a big fan of him either. But he did play in the year they won the championship. They wouldn't have won without him.
Yeah, so
he was great. He was great in the playoffs.
Yeah, so bummer for the Bucks. Sounds like an honest mistake, but I don't know. Why did he have the banned pill even in the house? I'd say get that thing out of the house because it's a banned substance. Because it seemed like he knew that it was a banned substance. But, unintentionally took tramadol thinking he was taking Toradol. I don't know who names these medications, but weird that they're that close in name. And for the same purpose.
Yeah, so next time my wife goes to me like, hey, you want some rock candy? And I say, sure. And then I accidentally take crack because
rock.
we have crack in the house. It's still my fault for having crack in the house, right? Like I don't understand. Like that analogy doesn't work with me. I'm
Gives it
sorry,
to you a little
Bobby.
bag. Like, oh, why are you giving me rock
Yeah, why is it
candy?
in a clear bag, not from a bottle?
Here,
It's okay, bro.
have
Just
some
smoke
baby,
it. Wait, smoke it? I
have
thought I
some
was
baby
supposed to
powder. What
swallow
is this
this.
baby powder in a clear plastic bag? No, yeah,
Take a sniff of it. What
I
the?
just don't. I just don't. I don't get it, man. I don't. I think you make so much money that you know, and your body is part of what your job is. You should know what goes in your body. I
Mm,
just don't understand that. You think that would ever happen to LeBron? No, it would never happen to LeBron.
mm.
But he does get injured. Okay, so I'm jumping ahead. What do we want to talk about next? The All Star game.
Yeah, want to recap the All Star competitions and how
Well,
we did?
before we start that, let's talk about, and we did have this discussion last week. We
Mhm.
talked about what's the best All Star game possibly, and I think it's very obvious right now that hockey is blowing them away. Alex, I know you said it wasn't hockey. The hockey, they
No,
fight for
I
their
said
life. They
I
try
said
to kill each
MLB.
other. They
I
try
said
to kill each
MLB
other.
is better than hockey,
Okay,
not NBA.
okay.
Yeah,
Not the Pro Bowl.
but this isn't an all-star game right. Like
It's
to
kind of an
me,
All
this
Star
isn't.
game.
How is this an all-star
It's
game
an
for
All Star
hockey?
weekend.
Right, but it's not even a weekend. It's like a week, right?
Yeah, they shut down for a week.
They shut down for a long time.
Wait, were we
But it
talking
is
Four
it is pretty
Nations?
amazing. It is pretty amazing that these guys will beat the hell out of each other just for this supposed All Star game, whereas the NBA players can't even like dress. Some of them can't even
Yeah,
dress.
yeah.
So okay, let's start.
It's
Let's talk
a
about the All
different
Star game.
breed
Who wants to go first?
on
Hey,
the
I
All
can
Star
recap.
game.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Hey, I can recap how we did, right? So we did the skills competition, the dunk contest, a 3-point contest, and we each picked a team winner
I
from
should have
the
taken
four.
my boy again.
I
Go
know.
ahead, Mike.
Skills competition. So Alex, you took the Spurs team that got disqualified. Bryan went with his heart, the Dubs. I went with the Cavs. Cavs won, so Spider D and Evan Mobley won that, so win for me. 3-point competition. The two of you went with Jalen Brunson. I went with Tyler Hero, who won. Dunk contest. We got to talk about this. We all got this one wrong.
That's why I said I
Alex,
should have taken my boy.
Alex, you got it more wrong because your guy, I don't even know if he made a dunk. He made like a layup dunk at the end because he missed about 10 in a minute and a half. It was crazy, but I thought that competition was pretty fun, actually. Stephon Castle and Max McClung put on a show, if you guys saw it. First dunk from McClung jumping over a Kia K5 was awesome.
At least let me tell you something. He saved the weekend, I think. And you could
It
say
was
what
the
you want
only
about
good
McClung.
thing.
He doesn't, he does not play. He doesn't play much. Has he played any games this year? Maybe one. But the guy, he first of all, he didn't miss any dunks, right?
No,
Didn't miss a dunk, which always annoys me when people
true.
miss their dunks. But he was so creative, and that's that's how you win these things. I
Yeah,
enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
I really did.
But he kind of proves that you don't need to be an NBA player to be in the dunk contest anymore, right? Like there's great dunkers that don't belong in the NBA, and he's one of them. But there's a whole slew of guys that's all they do is dunk competitions. So and they're doing stuff that the NBA guys don't do because they practice it all the time, So
Yeah.
it's just you're right, Brian. He literally saved the weekend, at least that part of the weekend, because everything else was fairly vanilla.
Yeah, the 3-point contest was good.
Yeah,
It always
yeah,
is good though.
yeah.
Yeah,
But the
that
dunk
that's
contest,
fun. Yeah.
it's been bad the last couple of years, but this year, and maybe because the Castle gave him some competition,
Mm-hmm.
that made it more fun. But I was rooting for McClung. I thought I wasn't going to root for him. And then when I was watching the guy making he was making it. Dude, there's other guys. They missed like 5 dunks. It's like to me, it was like, did they even practice?
Probably not. I mean, they probably spent an hour, where Mac McClung probably spent his whole week.
Yeah, exactly.
He said
Well,
he
he did. He
spend a
did.
lot of
There's
time.
a video on him practicing.
Yeah,
Yeah, he spent a lot of time. That guy Mattis Buzelis from the Bulls.
yeah. He was your pick, right?
No,
I thought you picked him.
No, man, I picked
No, we didn't know who he was.
Remember,
Remember,
we didn't know who he was.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
He was pretty springy and athletic, but he was using this blue basketball that looked like he bought it at Dick's Sporting Goods, and it was bouncing too high. And the announcers kept saying, "Why doesn't he use a regular ball? That one's bouncing too high." So he kept missing his dunks. Andre Jackson missed all of his dunks, and then he just had to do like a weak dunk at the end to finish. So those two guys were out. So Stephon Castle didn't even have to do anything to get into the final. And then I think Stephon Castle probably would have tied Mac McClung, but he missed that one dunk 2 or 3 times where the guy that was with him put in a layup, and then Stephon Castle took it through. He missed it 2 or 3 times, and then he put it down. And I think he got a 47.5, so he lost points for missing. McClung made, like Bryan said, all 4 of his dunks on the first try, and they were all 50s.
And they were all difficult.
They were hard. Like
How about the double tap? How about the double tap?
Yeah, the
that
last
was psychotic.
one. Yeah, when you saw that in slow-mo, at first when he did the dunk, I said, oh, that's a pretty good dunk. But then when they did it in slow motion, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I was like, that's an incredible dunk. And he's so short, too, that he looks amazing. When he jumped over the car, like, that was a big car, and he dunked on it, and then his foot, like, grazed the car on the follow-through, and he fell. But
Now, could you imagine if we went, let's say the 3 of us go over to Alex's house and we take his car and we put it in the street and we all try to practice jumping over it. First of all,
No chance.
I slam right into it. I get like 2 inches off the ground. I'd slam into it. Maybe you guys would get a little bit higher, definitely get higher than me, but I don't think either of you would ever get to
Not at this
Would you
age.
even be able to land on the roof? I don't think I could.
No way.
No, no way.
Not at our age, Bryan. No way.
But even when you were younger, when I was younger, I couldn't do that.
I could maybe land on the hood when I was younger.
Yeah,
but not on the roof.
I think I could get like onto the edge of the roof, but I would probably
that's like
flip
4.
and hit my
Isn't that
face.
like 4 feet high?
Is
like
it
a
that
48-inch vertical leap?
high? Oh no.
it's
I mean,
just,
a car is 4 feet high.
It's just, and then it's across, and it's like 4 feet across too. You have to go up that high, but also keep going, keep that level for another 4 feet.
But he did it on a convertible, right? So there was no roof on it.
There was a roof.
No, there was.
There
a roof,
was. I
Alex.
thought it was a convertible.
There was a guy sticking out of the sunroof holding the
Oh,
ball.
I thought he was sitting on the back of the seat.
Oh no, he came through the sunroof. That kid that was holding the ball came through the sunroof of the car.
He did clip his foot on the way down, but
Yes.
then
Which he could have gotten hurt doing that when you saw it.
Really hurt.
He clipped his foot. He could have gotten seriously injured on that. But you know
man,
what?
Max, man, again, he's another one I listen. I know he listens to our podcast. So Max, we loved your dunks. If you ever want to come on as a guest, we'd appreciate that.
And he's a very good G League player from what I've heard. He just can't make that transition. Excellent G League player. I think he's been a G League MVP, but that transition into the NBA, you could see how hard it is, right? A very good G League player that just can't stick in the NBA or get off the bench in the NBA.
Yeah, I hope he does I hope he gets another chance. I really do, because he's a good guy. He's a good kid. And you know what? I actually have to say a lot of the NBAers gave him a lot more props this year than any other year. Because like a lot of other years, I think they were kind of jealous of him, or just they were like, "Why is he here?" But this year, I think they know that he kind of saved the weekend. Okay, so what about the games? What about the format? What about the games? What did you think about that?
I was optimistic going in. I know Alex was not. I was hopeful that playing to 40 would motivate these guys to play harder and play some defense. And
we came up with some good reasons why they would play defense in the last episode, right?
I thought such a short game, they'd be like, listen, we just have to play hard for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, right? Yeah. That doesn't sound too hard for me. And then you get to rest, and if you win, you get the next game. So you come in like in another half hour. But within 2 minutes of the first game, I kind of said, oh, Alex was right. These guys are not trying. The players were saying after the fact that they thought it was more competitive and they were playing defense. The only time I saw defense was when Shaq's OGs, who won the whole tournament, Bryan picked them, good job, Bryan, were playing the Rising Stars team that had won their way into the All-Star game, and it was kind of close. It was 22-22. It was a very close game. And then all of a sudden, the OGs started playing. The ironic part of the OGs starting to play defense was Kyrie Irving was guarding
no.
like I've never seen him guard before.
I've never
Brian.
seen him guard except for in that
Never
movie.
seen
He
him play
guarded
so
in that
hard
movie when he
defensively.
was Uncle Drew in the movie. He guarded you.
Yeah, so I was bummed out because I think it was
Well,
a
Durant,
second
I saw
mistake.
Durant was playing some good D for a while
It
too.
was in that first game.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
it
he
was when
was.
they were a
Durant
little
was
bit
playing a really
threatening.
good D.
Well, because there was no way they were going to lose to those
No, you
guys.
couldn't, right?
Right?
Can you
Draymond
imagine?
was screaming, "Why are they even on the court?"
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They didn't.
So,
But after that, I mean, the finals was it was
oh
like
man,
it was bad. Yeah.
disappointing. Yeah.
No,
So
the finals. It was, and it's funny, because they started bombing away.
yeah,
It's like
I mean,
once they
Curry was
got,
shooting from half court,
yeah,
right?
he
Like
he
made
made it.
one.
I know.
He made one.
It's like
I was like, what the heck? And
yeah,
he's amazing. He's
yeah.
amazing to watch.
Yeah, no, he had a good, and he actually, again, he had a lot of rebounds. I was looking at his stat line, was pretty good. Now I think Tatum had a good stat line too. Um, but Curry had, I think, had more. But either way, it doesn't matter. It's I think it was his home. He got the hometown advantage. And
Yeah,
Tatum won last year, right? The MVP last year in the All Star game.
I think so. Yeah.
So Curry won. It was good in San Francisco. He won there. But that part of it I liked. I liked that he won. I it just was like that last game was a wipeout. Like it was almost like it was not the only competitive game. I do agree was the OGs versus the young guys.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
the
was
young
it.
guys were hanging in there, and the OGs had to play because, like Alex was saying, you could not. If they lost, that would have been an
Well,
embarrassment.
then, and Draymond was pissed off to
Yeah,
connect because really and truly he still doesn't really have a team. He didn't have a team officially yet because they had nobody. I don't know, maybe because the past physicals haven't happened yet because he hasn't. But now he's back I think he's back on the
yeah, he's
team now.
back. Yeah, he's a Laker.
Yeah.
LeBron dunked on Mark Williams yesterday. The Lakers played the Hornets. So
Yeah, but do you think that this deal was made and LeBron came and said, "We're not doing this deal"?
why?
Because the Lakers rejected him with now they're coming out saying there's nothing wrong with Mark Williams.
You think LeBron wanted to keep Dalton Connect?
Yeah.
Yeah, supposedly
Oh,
I heard he was pissed at that whole deal.
Yeah, I mean,
really?
like
Hmm.
why else all of a sudden are they just saying no? Like he can't pass a physical when they said he has no issues.
Yeah, I heard an
Like,
interview today with Williams saying he was saying, "Look, I don't know what the heck's going on. I went there, I did the physical. It seemed like I passed everything they asked me."
yeah.
Interesting.
Something's amiss there. We'll find out on some 30 for
Hmm.
30 to 20 years from now.
Well, so here's my thing, guys, and this is the other thing about the All Star game that pisses me off, and I definitely want to hear your opinions of this. But okay, LeBron is injured, doesn't tell anybody to the last minute. He could have said something, and we could have had somebody else who deserved, like Powell, who deserved to be in the All Star game, be part of that team because they might not ever make it again, And he didn't do that. To me, he kind of screwed all his players. So he's supposed to be the guy. He wasn't the guy, and then he doesn't even dress. He wears like street clothes. He tries to be Mr. Cool with his sweatpants and his hat and stuff, whereas he could have at least worn the uniform.
Hmm.
And then you have Anthony Edwards who misses the game too. He could have said something because they interviewed him the day before and he was like saying, "Hey, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to I'm going to win it for my team and all that stuff like that." They had an interview from him the day before, him saying he was going to play, and then he didn't play either.
Yeah, what was
So
wrong with him? What was wrong with Edwards?
no one knows.
That was Alex's MVP pick.
I know. I had a bad weekend, a bad All-Star weekend. I don't think I came close on anything.
But see that this thing is both of these guys could have not played. We could have had two players who deserved to be there too get there, and it would have made their careers. Like the thing is, Norman Powell. He might not ever get a chance like this to be
No.
to be that level, and they took it away
Sabonis
from
could
him.
have gotten in too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really upset about that. So
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't like it. Very annoying, and it just goes to show. There's another thing about LeBron that I don't like, and he he's above and beyond the rest of the people. He's not a guy for the players. He really isn't. I think he's proven that over the years.
Yeah, I didn't like that late scratch because I agree, Brian, that that's an opportunity for these guys to get in. When Anthony Davis got hurt, there was an opportunity for Kyrie Irving, who's a great player, to get into the All-Star game. But then LeBron, Anthony Edwards, you could have had like you said, Norman Powell, who's having a great season, first time probably, and would have been his only All-Star game, because what are the odds that he's going to have another spectacular year?
Exactly.
And then another guy that could have gotten in is like Domantas Sabonis could have gotten in. Or
Well,
even,
that was my other thing. Yeah, he should have been.
yeah,
I mean,
he's a
again,
great player.
there's no doubt in my mind he should have been in there.
Yeah. Of course, I think he would have fallen into that same category as Jokic. Some guys just aren't made for the All-Star game. And I think
Yes.
when Jokic got picked number one by Charles Barkley, he said, I'm not really made for this kind of game. And he looked a little befuddled out there on the court. It's just
Well,
not
he's a
his
team
kind of
player
game.
guy.
Yeah, it's not his kind of game. So
Yeah.
a little bit odd.
Anthony Edwards has a groin injury, he's saying, and he's had it before he went there, and he was trying to warm up, and it didn't feel right, so that's why he
Should
didn't
have just
play.
pulled
That's
out
what he's-
then if he had an injury, I would think.
Yeah, agreed.
Just pull out a few days before. Why say, hey, maybe it'll get better for the All-Star game? It's not about the All-Star game. The Wolves are in a fight there in the West. They had a great season last season, not playing so great this year, mixed it up with Julius Randle. I would think he'd say, I'm not chancing the All-Star game unless, Alex, he's like, I'm not going to play hard anyway. I could just loaf around.
Gimp through it.
Yeah, I'll get through it because I'm not going to really do anything anyway. So,
Yeah, I don't know, guys. I think the NBA is in trouble right now with this whole thing. They got to do something. I know they tried, and again, I think the concept of these breakout games was good because the Rising Stars. I think it worked out pretty well because they were trying more. Again, they still were jocking up shots all over the place, but they were trying more. Now here, I think if they played a little bit more defense and if the last game was more competitive, like if they seemed to care about it, I really feel that it would have been a lot of fun. Actually, it would have been a lot of fun to watch that if they were putting pressure on the OGs, if they were going down. But those guys didn't seem like they were on the same team. They were all, like shooting balls all over the place. I do say maybe there was a problem with the long layoff that they had.
yeah, what was that about?
Well,
in the
that's
middle
another
of
whole
the
thing.
game?
Kevin Hart, get rid of him. Kevin Hart has not been relevant in like 10 years.
That was unnecessary because it just wasn't entertaining to me. To me, it was like I'm trying to watch a game and Kevin Hart's cracking jokes, and then they stop for a 20-minute, like a halftime show with En Vogue and Too Short. And
I love Too
Bryan.
Short. By the way, I love Too
I
Short.
do too. I was waiting to see him when they said, "Oh, we've got all these Bay Area musicians." I said, "Oh, you have to have Too Short." But then, who was that DJ that was coordinating it?
Yeah, I don't know who that was.
Somebody's nephew, I think.
Oh my goodness! I was thinking, who is this guy? Because I thought it was going to be famous people, but I don't know who that DJ was. But
the whole fishing thing with the TNT guys was terrible.
It was so long and painful.
It was terrible.
Oh,
Yeah, I think that they said that there was I don't know, they said there was maybe an hour of actual basketball and 2 hours of stuff, and it was like more than 2 hours of stuff, just useless things.
I mean, my take is it's a commissioner issue, right? Like the commissioner needs to pull these guys aside and say, this isn't about you guys. This is about the fans, right? Like it's not about who can be the coolest guy on the court or, who can do whatever they want to do when they want to do it. Like this is about us entertaining the fans, and they don't do that. And Adam Silver is not that kind of commissioner. He's more like, hey, you guys do what you think is best for you as long as you're happy. And I think that's a mistake. And I think the league has taken a huge hit this year on, just attendance at games and, people, the ratings on TV are bad. And now the All-Star game is just getting worse and worse and worse. And it used to be the best, right? Like nobody could compete with the NBA. It was the best. And now it's like, oh, we need a guy, so let's pick him out of the G League to do the dunk contest because none of the big players want to do it. And we need it. The players, honestly, they don't care. And I get it. Like it's a business and they probably say, hey, this is a business. But if we're going to look at it that way, then just get rid of it, right? Like, guys don't get any time off. We're just going to play the season out and we'll end a week early and that'll be that, But I think this is a commissioner issue and I don't think David Stearns would ever stand for this. And and Adam Silver does. And he's doing it his way. And I think his way is give the players all the power and control, and I think that's proving to be a mistake.
It
So
is. It
that's my
is.
two
And
cents on
there's
it.
something when the LeBrons and the Currys and the Durants of the world go away, right? The next round of superstars, there's no one there who is going to carry that flag. And again, I'm not a LeBron fan, but there's things about him that draw fans, and there's things about him that whether you like him or not, and sometimes the fact that you don't like him, you want to watch the games because you want to see him lose, right? That's the truth. That's the truth. A lot of people will say that they don't like LeBron, they want to see him lose. There's a lot of people that love LeBron, but he's polarizing. Curry is a little different. Like most people like Curry. There aren't that many people that don't like Curry, but there are some obviously. Durant, another guy, polarizing. There are a lot of people like him, a lot of people don't like him. Those three guys, when they're gone, it's going to be very different because I don't see that next person. Now, is it going to be Victor? I don't know now because we just talked about that. We don't know if that's going to happen.
I think Anthony Edwards will be one of them because
him and Tatum.
I
Tatum
think
could
he
be
wants
too.
to play. Tatum
Yeah.
doesn't say enough though. I think
just
he's
so
too quiet.
He's so quiet. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think Anthony Edwards is like, hey man, I want to play. That's why it
absolutely.
surprised me that he didn't play.
Yeah.
Like he's like, hey, the fans pay. Like he gets it. I thought. So I'll take him on his word that he's hurt. But you're right, Bryan. And I think they have this issue all the time, right? Oh, when Magic and Bird leave, who's going to take over? And then
they did.
Yeah, they just it's just because they decide to market a different player now, and when all of a sudden that player's put in your face on every commercial and every ad and everything, then they become the big time guy. And I think Wenbanyama will be one of them, although I don't think he's very outspoken either.
Yeah.
I think Anthony Edwards can be one of them.
You need a bigger personality than a Wemby, because you have SGA, who's a great player, but he seems like a very quiet kid as well.
Yeah. And some guys just want to play the game, right? Like, I just want to be the best basketball player. I don't want to be the ambassador. It's a heavy weight to be the ambassador, right? That's kudos for LeBron. He's done it for so long.
LeBron knows that people hate him, and he doesn't care. Like, you have to have thick skin. You have to have thick skin.
Yeah, when you get to that point, Bryan, it doesn't matter. Like, when you get that famous, you just X amount of people are not going to like, 30, 40, 50% of the people just aren't going to like you. But then 50% of the people are going to love you. So,
yeah.
Well, the one thing I do want to say, and because I spent a lot of time watching all the side broadcasts, and I watched the video from the breakfast brunch and everything like that. The Warriors did a great job as far as the event itself and bringing back their old players and all things like that. They had
Run TMC.
They went to Oracle Arena, and Stephen Curry had a big thing. Klay Thompson came into town and had this, and he wasn't even part of those festivities. He actually had this big event over at the old arena too, and he was shooting with kids and doing all these things. And then Run TMC came back, and they had, they were part of it. They did a great breakfast for Rick Barry. They talked about Rick Barry during this thing. And you know who gave the reward to Rick Barry, this whatever award they were giving out? It was Dr. J. And Dr. J, like, I did not know this. If you got to listen to the interviews because they were pretty amazing. And there are tapes. I can send you the links if you want to. But Dr. J and Rick Barry are really close friends, and they used to travel a lot together and do things. After their careers, they became really, really close friends. So it was Dr. J who announced him into the whatever this award that they gave him, like a Lifetime Achievement Award or something, to Barry. It was Dr. J.
That's awesome.
And then they started interviewing Mullen and Richmond and Tim Hardaway, and they talked about. And those three guys are really close, and they're still close to this day. They get together, their families get together. It was really cool for me as a Warriors fan to hear all this stuff. I love Mullen. I loved Run TMC, all of them. I loved Rick Barry. Even though I was really young, but I did. I read about him afterwards, and I used to watch all the videos. I loved Rick Barry, and obviously Dr. J was probably, if you listen to our podcast, you know how much I like Dr. J. So for me, I was eating all this up. I was just the conversations, but I did not know.
You haven't mentioned Baron Davis yet, Brian.
Well, yeah. Well, they had him. He was a
judge.
I know.
Yeah.
I saw the Warriors Legend 3-point contest, and Baron Davis was in it. I was like, really?
He was in the celebrity game. He was 0 for 6.
Yep, yep. No, but there's just all these cool things about, and they talked
Yeah.
about how they talked about Don Nelson, how much they all love Don Nelson,
Mhm.
and they also talked about the what happened when Mitch Richmond got traded, how pissed they were about that, but they understood because Nelson had the experience with the Bucks where they had Marcus Johnson as their point forward, and they really wanted it to be Chris Webber, but then Webber
Mhm.
left, so then they traded Richmond for um, Billy Owens,
That's
right?
right.
Right,
That's
and Billy
right.
Owens just
Syracuse.
didn't. Just Billy Owens just
Yeah.
never panned out. But like Mullen was saying, Mullen said it was like it was. They found out about it. They were so pissed because they were all so close, but they understood that for them to win, the fact that they hadn't really experienced winning, they could have they needed somebody at that role. They just didn't have the person at that position, and they talked about this stuff. But I never knew that these three guys were that close. Still to this day, they get together, they hang out. Um, I was just all shocked about that. Like it was just stuff I had never known about, and I never knew that Dr. J and Rick Barry were such close friends. They they actually coached the Big Three together too, but they were talking about how they used to go overseas and spend time after with their families, go overseas. Like I was like, what? I had no idea.
Yeah.
So to me, the Warriors really made it a great thing for their and I think that's part of the Warriors organization. I think they have a very strong organization with their history and their past, and that is cool. But to me, as a Warriors fan, I ate this up, guys. I was really, really, really into it.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought they did a great job of kind of and they did that, Brian. Even though I didn't like the stopping the game in the middle of the final, but they even brought like musical acts from the Bay Area. I think
Yes,
that's a cool concept that every year, like if the All Star game is in Chicago, bring back Bulls legends, bring in, because I think they even had like Barry Bonds coached one of the teams, right?
and Jerry Rice.
And Jerry Rice. So if you do it in Chicago, you could bring Bears guys and all these Bulls guys and musical acts from Chicago and make it like a celebration of the city. I think that'd be really cool because hearing how excited you are as a Warriors fan because it was in the Bay Area, equally fans would be excited if it's in Chicago next year. People that like the Bulls are going to be really into that
Yeah,
because,
and just think if they put it in Utah, all the great acts they could get.
well,
The
Utah.
Mormon Tabernacle,
Hanson is from Utah.
Are they?
Mannheim Steamroller.
Yeah,
No, but actually, yeah, but
Kirilenko will come back, right? And
C.W.
Karl
McCall
Malone.
died though, so they couldn't get him. But
Oh, that's a convoy guy.
yeah, he died. He's also the guy who founded Mannheim Steamroller too.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he was. Oh, wait, hold on. I never told you the story when I went to his house and knocked on his door to get his
Yes, you
autograph.
told us
I think
this.
I have told you that.
I know it.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
think.
if you told it on the air, but
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yes, I did. I went to his house and I knocked on the door to get his autograph.
I
But
will say, I will say that in reflecting on the All Star game, I'm glad they tried something new. I don't think it worked out. Seeing what is happening in hockey with the Four Nations Cup and how passionate like these countries are for playing for their country, and they talked to Giannis at the All Star game about it. It seems like the next thing they should maybe try is like a U.S. against the world game because I know the world guys would try pretty hard in a game like that.
didn't they do that in the past, though, Mike?
I don't know. Did they?
I think they did.
Oh,
yeah, I think they did try
I
that
one
think
didn't
they
time.
work out
did.
either. Oh my god. Then they should just bag the whole thing, like you were saying.
Well, it's effort, right? It all comes down
Yes.
to effort. It doesn't matter what format you use. If the guys aren't going to put the effort in, then they just want to get the points so they can get off the court. I mean, that's what I felt like, right? Like in the finals, I was watching the finals, and I just felt like these guys just want to get off the court as fast as they possibly can. But
Yeah, no, I agree.
it's tough.
It's sad. We love the NBA game. We love we love sports, guys. We all love sports. It's sad for me to see this. It's going downhill. I just kind of in my mind, as being a Warriors fan and for the last I don't know how many years being able to live through the Curry era and the fact that we were competitive every year almost because of him and from and others too, obviously. But when he goes away, I'm worried. I'm worried now. What am I going? Luckily, I like the Knicks too, but if the Knicks, the Knicks aren't going to. They're kind of a little old. They might not last for that long. So we'll see what happens. Then what? Then
No,
what happens then?
the Knicks have like I would say 3, 4, 5 year window.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
And they're so fun to watch. I love watching the Knicks.
yeah.
So,
Agreed. Yeah, they are fun.
okay, so anyway, as far as your really quick before we close, your highlight of the All Star Weekend, Mike.
You know what? It's Mac McClung for me. Nothing else I saw really stood out in the weekend because all of the games on Sunday were disappointing. The fishing thing was disappointing, stopping the final in the middle. So all of Sunday was a disappointment for me. And then Saturday, watching the dunk contest, I think I was texting you guys and like jumped off my couch when Mac McClung jumped over the car. I was in awe of that. I pulled my wife and I'm like, you got to see this dunk. I was laughing. It was just such a great dunk. So that to me was the highlight of the weekend was watching Mac McClung.
Remember when I think it was Kenny Smith goes, and the guy's spinning. Remember there was a guy on a skateboard spinning around a circle.
Yeah, he was on a hoverboard. Yeah.
He goes, nobody would think of that. I just Max is so creative. The guy was so creative.
Jumped
And
over
he
Evan
did things that
Mobley.
no one could even think of doing, and he didn't miss.
Yeah. Jumped over Shaq last year, and then this year he jumped over a car, and then he jumped over Evan Mobley, who was about 6'11". So I thought he was. You both said it earlier. He saved the weekend, and for me, he was absolutely the highlight. And like you said, Bryan, he was very humble afterwards, and was very gracious in victory. Said he thinks he's done, but hey, you never know. If they ask, maybe he'll come back next year. But he put in the effort. Like he 100% gave it his all in the weekend. So it was great to see and a nice little story for a guy who's just struggling to stay in the NBA. So that's my guy for sure.
Yeah, I asked, who was the last non-African American player to win the dunk contest?
Besides Mac McClung?
Mm-hmm.
I
know. I just want to see if you know.
I'm trying to think. Oh man, I feel like I can picture him, and I have
Well, his father was. I just talked about his father.
Barry?
Yes, Brent Barry, right?
Really?
Brent Barry. Wow.
Yeah.
Bones. Remember his nickname was Bones?
Wow. He was a good dunker, though.
Yeah, he was a good dunker. He wasn't a good basketball player.
Not a bad player either. Yeah.
No, he wasn't a bad player, but I think.
Yeah.
Remember, he had three sons that made the NBA: Scooter, Brent, and who was the other Barry?
Barry.
No, there was another Barry. John Barry.
Larry.
Jon. John Barry with the Jon. Yeah.
Scooter Barry made the NBA? Wow.
Yeah, not a very short time, but he did.
He was the oldest one. He played at Kansas. Yeah. Scooter. Okay. Nice.
Okay. Well, and Alex, your highlight?
I actually saw it on Instagram. Was the 3-point contest between Chris Mullin, Mitch Richmond, Tim Hardaway, and Baron Davis.
And you see Mullin killed.
And Mullin killed him. I mean, it was like he could go on the court and sit in the corner and make threes all day long.
Yeah.
It was like a no contest sort of thing. I thought Baron Davis would give him a run, but I was surprised. Mullin was just money. So for me, that was the highlight. I would have said the Mac McClung in the dunk contest as well, but I'll give it to Chris Mullin making some 3-pointers.
There's another thing he said, and I got to get you guys to listen to this because Mullin said that when he was on the Pacers near the end of his career, the question was, did him and Reggie Miller shoot threes together? He said, yeah. He said every morning we get out, we shoot a ton of threes, and Larry Bird used to come and Larry Bird was the coach, but Larry Bird would just rebound for them. He wouldn't shoot. Like he wouldn't shoot. Like he had at that point he had given up. He didn't even play any basketball. And one day they were there, and there was a bunch of some of the younger players were there, and they were giving him a lot of crap. They calling them all old guys and all stuff like that. So Mullin says to them, "Hey, you want to play 3-on-3, and we'll take coach." And they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna kill you, right?" So Larry Bird comes over and he starts playing, and then he said to me that was probably the last time Larry Bird ever played competitive basketball, that game. But he said it came down to the end. There was like a tie game, the last possession. he gets it in the middle. He does a fade back, puts it away, and then walks off the court. And it was just like they said, he could shoot even though he was like hobbled and could barely walk and could barely stand because of his back. The guy could still shoot no matter what. He could still shoot, and they beat the rookies. And he said it was or the younger guys, and he said it was one of the best things ever. Because they also talked about, like, remember the whole legendary Mullen versus Bird 3-point contest during the Olympics and stuff. They were shooting, or that game of horse. They were playing a game of horse, and Mullen was winning, and then Bird caught up. So I don't know what Mullen was winning for, whatever, and they were tied for a while. They made like 5 or 6 shots, and they were tied. And then Bird just says, "That's it, we're done." And they walked away. They didn't want to have somebody win or lose. And they said, and Mullen goes, eventually he was going to beat me. He said, "I knew it was going to happen," but he was nice enough to let it go as a tie. But like, those are the kind of things I love to hear, like that kind of stuff that you don't know about. So my highlight of the All-Star game was listening to the interviews, and I'm sorry, that's sad. That's sad. But the event that the Warriors put on, to me, was the highlight.
Nice.
And I'm lucky I have NBA TV, so I was able to watch all these weird things, because they showed everything. They showed the brunches and the sideline, like all these cool things that they did, and what the normal person doesn't get to see. Okay, well, that's good. Great episode. And next week will be college basketball, I think. Is that what we're going to try to do?
Gotta get it. The madness is coming.
Okay, madness is coming. Yes. And good luck, USA. Okay, take care.
Yeah, USA.
Take care, everybody.
This is Tom Carvel. Thank you for listening to 3 the Hard Way Sports Podcast. Remember to get a Fudgy the Whale or Cookie Puss for the next time you're sitting down to watch the big game.